Hey, this is Scott Petrak with another episode of the Brown Zone Coverage Podcast. I'm joined once again by good buddy Dave Chudowsky from the WKYC Morning News. Dave, how are you?
Doing well, Scott. How about you? You getting out on the golf course at all, or just too busy?
No, I am getting out on the golf course. I'm trying to jam it all in. This is about the 6 weeks I need to take advantage. So I'm trying to play, trying to do a little work in the meantime, trying to take advantage, like I said. But today I did not play because I went out to the Kareem Hunt is hosting a youth camp at Whittleby South, right? His alma mater on the east side.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it's a nice facility out there. I don't think I've ever been out there for a game. They got some new turf. It's nice. They got the baby blue, kind of Tar Heel blue color in the stadium. It looked good. And I tell you what, all these kids were excited to see Kareem. And we were able to talk to him for a little bit.
So my gut tells me you, someone at least asked him about Chubb and the extension.
Yes, that was one of the questions. And he was funny. He said, please pay the man. He said he's a freak of nature, works hard on and off the field, loves him on and off the field. So, I not that I expected Kareem to say anything different, but, we talked to Nick Chubb last week about the extension. He said Cleveland's where I want to be. He said he really values certainty, and he knows what he has in Cleveland. It just feels like kind of another push toward, yes, this contract's going to get done probably sooner rather than later, some point in training camp, I would expect. And, it's just an interesting dynamic with Chubb and Hunt, right? Because they're two big-time backs, right? Whether it's, we will talk about this in a minute, but, maybe Nick Chubb is the top 1, 2, 3, 4 backs in the league. And Kareem's probably a top 10, top 12 back, won the rushing title with Kansas City as a rookie. So the fact that you have these two guys, and, it comes up during the course of the season, obviously, but, you kind of get stuck in the middle of things, and there's so much going on. If you take a step back and really look at these two guys that the Browns have and can take advantage of, and last year it was a lot of one or the other. I mean, it was almost all one or the other. Nick Chubb, he'd get a couple of series, and then they'd give the ball to Kareem Hunt, trying to keep both guys fresh into the fourth quarter. And we saw each one of them take over games late in the, I think it was Kareem, I think it was the Washington game, had a huge fourth quarter.
And you know what it did? You know what it did, Scott? It really allowed Chubb to be fresh at the end of the game and be even more powerful than he already is. And it really, it's mind-boggling to think they have both of these guys on the same team. So I guess question for you would be, was Hunt asked at all today about them being on the field more together?
Yeah, I asked him about that because it's something that really interests me, Chud, is how can they take advantage of these two guys even more than they did last year? And to me, that's the way to do it, is by playing them together. Now, I don't think it's as simple as on other teams because you have OBJ and you have Landry and Hooper and, Rashard Higgins and Peoples-Jones. It's just a lot of guys on offense. But I trust Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt and running back coach Stump Mitchell to figure out a way to use them together more, because I really think that can play havoc with the defense, and it gives the defense something else to worry about. And I don't know exactly how that will look. Both of them lined up together in the backfield. Do you, put Kareem Hunt in the slot? Do you motion him in and out of the backfield? It just feels like you could do a lot. And, maybe it's the fourth quarter. Maybe it's, wearing teams down late. And, we saw in 2019 when they played in the backfield together, Freddie Kitchens used them a decent amount together. Both of them were willing to take on that lead blocker role. Now, you don't want them doing that a ton, but occasionally you can do that. Use one as a fullback and still run your normal offense, but you have two, running threats and receiving threats. So I'm really anxious to see how much that element of the offense grows in year two under Kevin Stefanski.
Where do you think Chubb ranks in the NFL running back wise? In fantasy football, you hear the talk about it. Now that's fantasy, of course, but just in terms of like the best all around running back, and he doesn't catch a lot of balls, but
right.
Where do you think he kind of falls in the rankings?
Yeah, it's interesting, Chubb. Like if I were given if I were given one running back to take, I might take Nick Chubb because I feel like I know him. I feel like I know what he gives the Browns day in and day out. He's held up as a model for his teammates, by other teammates, by coaches, by the front office. So, like, I just don't feel like there's a downside to Nick Chubb. Yes, he probably needs to catch the ball better or more, but I think he's really improved in that area. And I know he's motivated by the drops in that playoff game against Kansas City to be even better as a receiver out of the backfield. So, it's tough because Alvin Kamara catches the ball so well and Christian McCaffrey catches the ball. They're so, they're different types of back than Chubb, and you can make an argument that you'd rather have one of those two guys. But I can say from a pure running standpoint, I would take Chubb even ahead of Derrick Henry, who's won the last 2 rushing titles. And even as an overall complete back, it's either Chubb or, McCaffrey, Kamara. Like, those are my 3 guys, and I just might take Chubb.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
I know, but, I don't feel it's that off base, and I don't feel it's slanted from, covering the Browns or anything. I just think he is that solid a player and a guy, a locker room guy as well, a teammate. And, he gives you so much as a runner. He can break tackles. He can hit the home run. He can pick up first down. If you need 3, he can get you 5, but he can also go 95, which we've seen time and time again. I just think there's a ton to like about him. And if you gave him the chance to catch 50 balls a year, I think you could probably do that too.
Yeah, no doubt. I'd like to see more of that. Let's talk about the DLine now. You're working on a story on the DLine right now, right?
I am. Now, depending on – I can't promise when it'll get done, depending on how many tee times I have over the next few days. But I am working on it. And to me, it's really interesting. Like, I spent a lot of time at minicamp, kind of how the fields are set up. We were in front of the D-line a lot. So I spent a lot of time watching those guys. A lot of excitement. We probably talked about this a little bit last week. A lot of excitement, a lot of energy. Jadeveon Clowney making a lot of noise. Competition among the guys. It had a real good vibe to it. But, so that was really good. And then you look at the D-line and you say, okay, can this be a dominant D-line? Clowney mentioned the 2019 49ers, and they had 5 or 6 number 1 picks or first-round picks on that line. It really propelled them to the Super Bowl. And he mentioned the Browns being comparable. Now, I think that's, a little too much. I think it's way too premature to say that, although they have 2 overall number 1 picks in Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. So, I think the potential is great. If everybody stays healthy and you line up Garrett and Clowney and Takk McKinley and Malik Jackson as your 4 rushers, and then you add Billings and Jordan Elliott and Tommy Togiai as your backup D tackles, you go, okay, this front can be really good, borderline dominant. But I have a couple of questions. And number one is, can Jadeveon Clowney stay healthy? Because if he doesn't, and he hasn't through a good chunk of his career, he looks really good coming off the torn meniscus surgery in December, but he's got a history of a variety of injuries throughout his career. If he's lost for a significant amount of time or at a key time in the season, right, end of the season, playoffs, is Takk McKinley good enough as your number 2 end? And to me, that's a big question mark. I'm not sure he is. He's coming off a bad year last year. A lot of it was injuries, but he also tweeted his way out of Atlanta. And then he didn't catch on after teams claimed him off waivers. So, I think he's motivated, but you need to see it. And so if you're not sure if he's the number 2, and then behind him is, Curtis Weaver, who's never played in the league, Porter Gustin, who's, just a guy, kind of hasn't shown that pass rushing ability. I think he's been good against the run, but hasn't shown that pass rush ability. I think there could be a little thin if Clowney doesn't stay healthy. And I think you can say the same thing about the tackle position. Sheldon Richardson and Larry Ogunjobi were your 2 starters a year ago, and they're both gone. Andrew Billings is a run stuffer. I like Malik Jackson a lot, the veteran free agent. He's a tall guy. He can line up inside and outside. I like him, but after that, it's Tommy Togiai, who's, a rookie 4th-round pick. It's Jordan Elliott, who the Browns drafted in the 3rd round a year ago, but didn't show a whole lot last year. And if he takes the step you want, then okay, then you're probably set at D tackle, but it needs to be proven. And after that, it's kind of, they took flyers on guys, Malik McDowell, Marvin Wilson, the undrafted guy. So I think there's a ton of potential, but I also think there's some question marks. It's such a key position. And that's why I think there's going to be a lot of eyes, and especially mine, on the D-line throughout training camp in the preseason, just to see how those guys come together and how they fit. And then how many make the team? Do they keep 5 tackles? Do they keep 5 ends? Just how Joe Woods and Chris Kiffin, the line coach, how they're going to mix and match those guys.
Did you just say just the guy?
I did. And that's a little rough. And maybe that's
no. I just want to, from moving forward, we go Jag.
Yeah, there you go. But that's and that's fine for your 4th or 5th end, right? But all of a sudden, if he's moved up to your 3rd end, is that good enough? And that's where I have questions about, when you talk about Super Bowl dreams, right? And Super Bowl chances, and, you need depth and you need quality depth. And maybe you can't expect to do any better than Porter Gustin as your 4th or 5th guy. But I think you need Jadeveon Clowney to stay healthy, so he is only your 4th or 5th guy.
Let's talk rankings now. Myles Garrett was just ranked 23rd best player in the league. Is that right?
Yeah, that's Pro Football Focus is doing their ranking. And it's interesting. He's the highest Brown. Yeah, they haven't last time I looked, they hadn't revealed the top 20, but I wouldn't think any other Brown would be higher than Garrett. And that makes sense to me. I think you look at Myles Garrett, and if you just said, okay, who's the best player on the Browns? I think it's Myles Garrett. He's physically gifted and maybe the most gifted player on the team. Nick Chubb is in the discussion for best player.
Yeah. Yep.
Odell Beckham Jr. is in the discussion for most gifted athlete, but obviously hasn't had the production with the Browns. And it's a different discussion than most important. Like Baker's the most important, but he hasn't played. He hasn't gone to a Pro Bowl, right? Myles was all pro last year. So it feels like that he should be the highest ranked Brown. That feels like the right spot to me, early 20s. It's right around both Bosa brothers. And I think, through Myles' time, he kind of fits in with those guys, with the Bosas, when you're talking about production and talent. I'm guessing TJ Watt will be higher, and probably deservedly so. He had a huge year last year. Aaron Donald might be number 1. If not, he's in the top 5 for sure. But when you talk about Myles and the ceiling, and you talk about Myles as a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, he needs to be on the same plane as Aaron Donald and TJ Watt. And it'll be interesting to see if he can take that next jump. And last year he got off to such a great start, and he was forcing turnovers and making huge sacks. And he just can continue that throughout the whole year. And a lot of that, he had a little bit of a knee injury about midseason, and then he had COVID, and that affected him throughout the end of the season. That was like the last 6 or 7 games. So if he can stay healthy, there's a chance for him to dominate for the entire season. And if that happens, then you're talking about a top 10 ranking by PFF and a legitimate run to be Defensive Player of the Year, which has been Myles' goal since he entered the league.
Yeah, I definitely think he can get up there. I got to believe, and I haven't seen the list, but I have to believe the top 20 is going to have a lot of quarterbacks in it, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, that's the way it should be. I'd have a bunch of quarterbacks, Aaron Donald, like TJ Watt. There's probably, I'm sure there's some receivers, but it would be heavily slanted toward quarterbacks just because that's the way the game is.
Isn't it amazing, though? Again, at least we're talking and having this conversation. For so many years, we just didn't have the type of guys that you could even put into this discussion.
Well, no, you're exactly right. And, it's I don't think it's a chicken and the egg thing. I think the reason the Browns are in the Super Bowl discussion is because they have this type of talent. And yes, Kevin Stefanski plays a big part in it. And yes, Baker Mayfield really stabilizing the quarterback position is huge, right? Those are like the 2 biggest factors that jump out at you. And right after that is a roster that really stacks up with anybody in the league. You know, if you compare Cleveland's roster with everybody else's and you took out quarterback, I think you can make a strong argument that the Browns have the best roster. Now, when you add Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady to that equation, that tips the scales, right? Because Baker has not played at that level yet. But you remove quarterback, and I think it's, you know, the Browns and Tampa Bay, you know, is probably, and maybe Kansas City, is probably the 3 best rosters in the league.
That's great to hear. Well, I got to tell you, Scott, I got on in Golf 9 last weekend on Father's Day, and I got to tell you, it felt good to get back out. It had been a while. I got the juices flowing, went to the range on Monday. I don't know if you've ever been to Stonebrook down on Pearl in Middleburg.
All the time. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. You told me that. Great spot. You can have a drink, get some swings in. I got the itch, and I want to get back out this weekend.
Chud, I love to hear that from you. Where'd you play on Sunday?
I played with my father-in-law over in his neck of the woods near Canfield, Youngstown area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't played much out there. Yeah. I mean, Chud, you know this, and probably people who listen to this, there's nothing I would rather do than play golf. So I played an outing Monday. I played Tuesday. I got a tee time Friday. I'm in an outing Saturday. And I have an offer to play Sunday, and I'm not sure I can make 3 straight weekend days work. But that's my goal. So you just let me know when you can play, Chud, and I would love to hit the links with you.
You know what? I will do that as long as you're all right with watching a guy that will just embarrass himself, because I will definitely not contend with you. But I'll have fun. I'll have fun, no doubt.
Well, yes, that's the first goal. No, I have no problem. No, that would be great. I would have no problem with that at all. And we'd have a good time doing it. So.
All right.
Cool.
Well, that's all for me, unless you got anything else.
No,
that's a good taste of the Browns for an off week.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think we hit some things or some other rankings maybe we'll get to down the road when we do this again in this little bit of a break here before training camp. So, hey, I appreciate your time, Chud. Thank you very much.
Always.
And goodbye, everybody, and we'll do this again soon. Thanks. This is Scott Petrak from the Brown Zone Coverage Podcast.